Welcome everybody to today's stream. Hope you had a nice day so far. Here we go. Let's play some PvE together, shall we? And as promised, I'm working currently on my Hillfire brand guide. I want to gather some footage, get some gameplay, and show it also on stream. If there are any questions, I can explain it. So always let me know if there's some feedback, if you want to know something. Welcome Filthy, welcome. And I mean, what should I pick here? Doesn't matter. Come on, don't start the fight too early. No, I think I have the wrong settings. Let me quickly change that. Otherwise we will get too many skills that we see. That's not good. It's not good. How are you today? How are you today? Crazy, why? What's the problem? What's going on? Nice, we got the stability. PvP. Yeah, don't be triggered by PvP. PvP is always, you know, hit or miss. Hit or miss. So let's check the boons. Yeah, looks quite nice. 98% quickness uptime. So you can see if you position yourself behind the allies and so in front of the, let's say, your cone, so that the cone always hits, then you should be quite fine, especially if you're running the Feel My Wrath elite skill. Other than that, you have to be quite careful. Oh no, we don't have stability for my party. But that's the important part, you know, that's the thing that really matters, that you really always stand behind your group, that you are aware of your skills, that you swap your utilities and your also your traits actually, depending on the, yeah, not game mode, but depending on what you actually need. For example, this trait gives a lot of healing, but if you need more stability, you should go for this one. If you need more, I don't know, active healing, you can go for this one. This is more passive. So there are a lot of things that are actually mattering when you play this build. So that's why I want to gather as much footage as I can for Hillfire brand that I can put into my video, because it's very important that you swap around stuff. Only then you can actually play this build to its fullest. So I hope I can make that clear in my video. I try my best. And if you have any feedback or any tips or any questions regarding that, please let me know already on stream, so that I can implement that in my video as well, because I want to make this a really, yeah, on point, concise, and very, let's say, covering everything that is to know about this build, because I think it's very intensive how much stuff is actually in there that you should know. So now we have a very high healing fight, where CC is actually also quite nice, but I feel like it's better to bring a lot of heals here, a lot of cleanses, and that's why I will go for example, Stand Your Ground, so that my party is actually not knocked down. I will also go for Mantra of Lore for the cleanse of the weakness that this boss applies. That's really important. And of course I will go for Battle Presence here. I wanted to have some fun on Spear Tempest, but I was denied it because yeah, 4 games lost in a row. People throwing at the end when we were winning. That I bought that instant of decapping points was just capping mid and running from left to right and pew-pewing. Really competitive mode in Guild Wars 2. Yeah, that's the sad part. Guild Wars 2, especially if you're playing on EU in the morning, for example. I don't know how it's on the NA, but if you don't play at prime time, which is typically around 6 PM to maybe 11 PM my time, if you don't play to that in those hours, it's just even more of a gamble than usual. It's just so insane how much, come on. It's just insane how much, yeah, people are not really aware and playing together in the same game mode. So sometimes you have someone as in bronze and is still in your game. It's actually crazy. What? Is it lagging? No. What? I think I'm lagging actually. I pressed my buttons, but it didn't work. Holy shit, did you see that? Apparently multiple people lagged. Interesting. How did that happen actually? If multiple people lag, is that a server lag then? Very interesting. Okay, let's do it correctly. It's a shame if you die on Bone Skinner because you die. Doesn't happen that often. Okay. Stand behind the party, always remember that. More talking to myself here. Okay, give some H's to my party so they don't have to dodge that one. Now you can just see how much healing you can put out if you dodge. Come on. You should not spam your dodges if you need to dodge in the next second. Yeah, it doesn't look that good actually. Yeah, you can H's actually everything on this fight except the aura of the aura tick is actually, yeah, I don't know. I actually have decent. I don't know. It's actually interesting. So you can H's a lot, but sadly you don't have a lot of H's access on Guardian anymore if you don't run, for example, how's it called? Retreat or Advance nowadays. So that's the sad part here. Oh my god, please don't spread it that much. Okay. I mean the boons are quite nice on Guardian. That much is for sure. But we don't get the CC here. That's why I like to play Chronomancer. Chronomancer instantly CCs all of that. Okay. I mean, the DPS is also not that great, actually. You can see this was the same attack, you know, you can H's that as well. It's actually very nice how much you can H's on this fight, but sadly I don't have that much H's on this build. I mean, instantly 2 people die here to the attack, so I can't hit there. I can H's this one. Yeah, good. Try to H's this one. Yeah, okay, I got one. Okay, be careful. Now I have to dodge a bit. Get some healing output to my party. Yeah, you can see it works decently well if your party is not standing in the AoEs, obviously. If your party is standing in the AoEs, the healing output is too low to actually make up for that. Okay. Okay. I need a lot of healing now for my party. Yeah, you can see the healing. I try my best here to heal all the subgroups, but it looks like we have a somewhat lacking healer in the second subgroup, or in the second part of our group. So I have difficulty to actually overheal our party, but it worked out in the end. I mean, I think the problem is I just play so much heal chrono that heal chrono is so much for me that you actually, I just play it and I don't think about it. I can play that, and talk about stuff that I have to concentrate a lot. But if I play a class like Firebrand, where I'm actually not that, let's say, experienced on, I know what I should do, but I'm not that, my muscle memory is not there, then it's way harder to actually concentrate on the fight while talking. So, but it worked out well. And it's also, I think, a way harder class to play than Chronomancer, in my opinion. Yeah, thanks for the applause. Thanks a lot. Yeah, you can play, of course, Mace. If you play Mace, then you have a better healing output. It's much better, actually. But the thing is, you don't have CC, and I thought I would need some CC for the breaking the break bar. But you could see, even when I used it, it was not enough. Chronomancer would have broken it with the Moa. But Guardian is a little bit... You can, for example, swap Stand Your Ground to Sanctuary, and you have amazing CC. You can also use... Bane Signet for some most designs. Yeah, it works all, but yeah, Guardian has to make some not sacrifices, but has to think about what they choose. It's not like Chronomancer where you always have everything in your kit. Welcome, Roaming Spirit, welcome. So let's see if someone runs in again. That would be the third time in a row that someone runs in without waiting for the ready check. Oh, looks good. Nice, they learned. Very good, very good. You can also block this attack, which is really nice, of course, because then you don't have to use your H's for that. And the thing is, why you should use X in a lot of scenarios is because the X is actually providing a lot of stability. Not stability, fury rather. And if you don't have a party member that can provide fury for your subgroup, then you are actually very in trouble, very much so. Yeah. I really hate that if you have the character model limit to lowest, that you actually are not able to see the bosses correctly if you don't target them. I think that's really annoying. That should not be the case. The bosses should always display, even if you're on lowest, because why would the bosses disappear? That's so annoying. Shot my anchor and the t-shirt in Google. Interesting. Interesting. I think that's just hello. It means hello. Just a specific, I would say. How can you say a specific area of Germany that it says that normally? It's not a very, it's more like a dialect thing. Yeah. It's obviously quite hard for foreign, not a native speaker, to understand what that actually means. Yeah, I know. I think it's actually, a lot of people say that even if they are not from that area. I think it's just a very, people like that saying. I think it's okay. I mean, I wouldn't say that in English to an English speaker, because that's very confusing to them probably. Yeah. Yeah, that's way too formal if you say that, like, good day, but in English it's way more, you know, you would say that to a pal that you just meet or something on the street. That's fine, but in German it's very formal. It's like if you meet someone from the, I don't know, from the government or something, then you would say something like that, I feel like. It's a little bit annoying the beginning, the opening, because you have to spam all your buttons actually on this build. I feel like it's quite spammy actually. I like that is fast paced, but I feel like for a new player that might feel very spammy. You actually just upkeep your boons here. So I always got so many questions about, you know, which class should I play as a new player? So what's your take on that? I feel like, would you say there are classes in Guild Wars 2 that you should not recommend to new players when they asked me which class should I pick? Or do you think that's not something that I should judge about? Because that's very hard to judge as a veteran. Because I feel like there are so many people that always say, okay, you have to play this class first and don't play that one first. It's way too hard. I feel like I feel like, I don't know. Everyone told me to not play Elementalist as a new player. I regret for not playing it, honestly. Yeah, I think that's the sad part here. Should I tell people don't play that class because apparently people say it's hard? Or should I say no, that's not the case. It's like you play whatever you like and you will be fine. So it's actually, I don't know. I'm a little bit on the fence here. Because I can see why you would make the argument for Elementalist being challenging to that extent, because it's obviously has more buttons that you could press, but in the end it's probably oftentimes not really that much more challenging in most cases. I don't know. Yeah, there are definitely way harder professions. I would agree with that, Nick. But the thing is, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't play it. I think if you enjoy the fantasy or if you enjoy the class design and you give it a try and you feel like, okay, it's hard, but you can make it work and have fun while doing so, I don't know. I feel like that's a good thing. If you always say to a new player, no, just play this class because it's easy, then they might quit the game because either it's too easy for them or it's not the one that they actually like. I think it's really hard for a content creator to make a very nice, concise thing and say, okay, this is actually what you should pick as a new player or what you shouldn't pick as a new player. I think it's really hard actually to make that work. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Mesmer is very unique, but would you recommend it to a new player in that sense? Because it's actually not that easy to play. I would say it's one of the harder classes to actually start out with. It's not really hard, but it's harder than, for example, I would say a warrior for the most part. Yeah, I think Elementalist is a very good class to start out because you can fill so many roles in all game modes, but it's at the same point also a class where you have to probably learn the most skills in the beginning because you have ultimately 4 weapon skills at the same time, 4 times the amount of, or 2 times the amount of if you use 2 weapons on another class. I don't know. Yeah, but is Thief really the easiest if you just think about it like that? Because yes, you can spam your buttons if you wanted to, and you don't have that many F skills. Yeah, that's true. But is it really that easy to play because it's very squishy? Would you also recommend, for example, a build that is way more squishy, even if it has less buttons to press? So, you know, so where's the line? Where would you say it's easy when it's not easy? Because, for example, Elementalist has a low health pool, low armor, light armor. So that means that you have very little amount of defenses in your kit baseline. So would you put that into your argument and say, okay, it's very easy to build, but it's very squishy with a normal amount of DPS build? It's actually not that. I think it's not that clear cut. I think that would be, I don't know. Yeah, I would say you start out with something that is a little bit more forgiving, and then you start to go full berserker gear or something. That would make sense. Yeah, it's true. But the thing is, would you say a class that has a lot of tools in its kit to actually make it very, so to say, evasive and tanky, but when it gets hits, it's very punishing. Would you say a new player knows all of the mechanics already to dodge, to avoid attacks? Or would it not just be easier to play a warrior where you just can tank a hit and will not get punished for it? I feel like it's actually easier to recommend a class that is a little bit of baseline tankiness, where you don't have to actually dodge attacks, where you don't have to really position yourself correctly. I feel like it's... Yeah, I agree if you know that you can dodge with Dagger, for example, on Daredevil. Yes, that's completely correct. Of course you can avoid a lot of damage, but a new player would not know that all the time. I don't know. I feel like... Welcome, Gothic, welcome. I think that... But they will probably learn fast. I agree. If you notice that this skill on Dagger will dodge, yeah, probably you will press it a lot because of that. Yeah, you're right. Of course, that's definitely a good point. But I feel like especially in, let's say, a little bit more hectic situations where you have a lot of stuff happening, a lot of mechanics to happen, it's obviously often way easier to just say, okay, I focus on surviving, and sometimes it's easier to just say, okay, if I get hit, I will not die instantly, because if there's so many stuff on the screen, I don't, yeah, just saying. I think Warrior in PvE is a weird class to recommend, because Warrior in PvE is very spammy, and it's also not the tankiest class from what it actually brings to the table, because it is very DPS oriented. It doesn't have any utility mostly in the kit. Only challenging part as a new Elementalist for me was when they did Heart of Thorns, the open world. Yeah, I mean the open world in Heart of Thorns is a big step up from the core game, that's true. Yeah, of course, I mean nowadays Heart of Thorns feels way easier because we have power creep. That's definitely something that you also have to consider. But you also learned, of course, that's the next thing here, of course. That we all got better at the game if you started playing with Heart of Thorns, or even before then. That's just the nature of the thing, yeah. Oh, that was close. Spellbreaker can counter most mechanics. That's true. Spellbreaker, especially with the buff recently, it's actually very underrated. I think Spellbreaker in PvE is one of the most underrated specs right now, because it has the baseline, how is it called? Full counter. So it has some mechanic that can just negate a lot of damage that you would normally take. And then, that's the cool part as well, you also have amazing DPS. Yes, it's melee, but damage is crazy. So you have, I think, 46k or something like that. If you can stick on your target, that's insane. That's one of the highest benchmarks in the game as a power build. Yeah, Necromancer is also quite easy. I would say especially Reaper, and even Scourge is quite easy. I would say Harbinger is a little bit harder, but I don't know. I feel like they are all quite nice. Yeah. Welcome, Echo Fox. Welcome, welcome. We're just debating about which class would you recommend to a new player if they really wanted to play an easy class. You know, a lot of people say, I have many classes that I would like to play, so which of them is actually the easiest? I think that's an interesting thing to talk about. I think Old Condi Scourge is really strong. I think it's still very good. I think people don't give it enough credit for it, actually. I think Scourge is not the top DPS anymore, yes, but it's still a very crazy good build when it comes to sustain with the barrier, with the cleansing, and you just don't have too many buttons to actually press. You don't have to weapon swap if you don't want to, and it's I think very easy to get into. That's the very big point. If you, for example, look at Harbinger, I think Harbinger is way more punishing because it's not that easy to actually get into. You have a lot of mechanics that you have to take care of to actually make this build work. So I think there are some elite specs even for a specific class that are actually helping or not helping. Yeah. So I mean, Power Scourge in versus World, I mean, in Cirque it's actually the same. You just spam your buttons and try to hit the Cirque with it, and you will corrupt a lot of boons. That's how you play Cirque Scourge nowadays. Yeah. I think it should be more focused on specs than class. Like if someone wants to play Holo, I'll advise them to try out Scripper first. Reaper over Harbinger like that. Yeah, I guess that's a good point from YouTube, from Ben on YouTube. Because I feel like I think saying a specific class is very easy, I think doesn't give it the complete credit. Sometimes, for example, if you say Elementalist is not as hard as people make it out to be, I would say this statement is probably true, but it depends on the elite spec. So for example, I would say Tempest and Catalyst are easier to play, for the most part, than Weaver. I would say Weaver is just a step up from the other elite specs. So you can't always say that's the case, that's always hard or always easy. Same goes for Necromancer. Reaper and Scourge are way easier than Harbinger in my opinion. Yeah, I think that's a good point, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's true, but a lot of classes have that you have some kind of, for example, Holosmith has that you have some kind of Forge rotation, that you have then to press your buttons before that out of Scourge, out of the Holoforge, and then you use the Scourge as well. So Scourge doesn't really have that because it doesn't have the Shroud, but for example, Spectre has it again, so yeah. I don't know, there are a lot of possibilities actually. Maybe we have to do a tier list later. Maybe we have to do a tier list about that and just answer that in a tier list and just say, okay, this is an elite spec that you should start out if you're looking for an easy class. Maybe that's something that we should actually do. Yeah, exactly. You don't have the Shroud on Scourge and therefore it just negates a lot of difficulty in how you actually would adjust your rotation, because you on Scourge you just press one button to go into Shroud and you get some barrier. In Reaper and in Harbinger, you have to actually go into Shroud, you lose your utility skills, you change your weapon skills, it gets more complicated, it's also a second life pool, for Reaper at least, so it's really, it's not that easy, yeah. Harmbringer, yeah, I would say Harbinger, if you play without knowing how to actually perform on a specific encounter, can easily lead to your death, because the movement skills and also that you have a second life pool that doesn't really prevent any damage from you, so you have to be really careful on a Harbinger. It's not the classical Necromancer gameplay, that much is for sure. But for example, would you say Firebrand is an easy elite spec, or would you say Firebrand is the hardest Guardian elite spec? Because that's for me something that I always think about. Okay, is it easy because you have so many tools in your kit, or is it hard because you have so many tools in your kit? You know, what's the thing that you actually, okay, we have I don't know. Yeah, I would say a lot of people actually are not very good on heal Firebrand, so yeah, that's a good point there. I think that's obviously not very well known that people actually should try to play better on a heal Firebrand. Yeah, I guess, yeah. Yeah, I guess it's true. It's true. Question from YouTube. Just popping by live stream to say thank you for your Condi Berserker Celestial build. Yeah, that's really nice. I always like it if people actually come to my stream and say thank you. Thanks a lot for that. I really appreciate it, because that's, you know, that's the thing why I put out videos like that, because people then see how it's played, and if you actually get help from those videos, it's even better. You know, that's really nice. Glad you like it. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the applause. Yeah, I think Firebrand is like, a lot of people think you can just spam your buttons and you will be fine, but I think in all game modes, but especially in PvE, I think it's very overrated how easy it is to play. I think it's actually not as easy as you would expect it to be. You have so many buttons that you have to use in the right situations to actually be a good Firebrand. I think it's actually very underrated. Yeah, exactly. They confused Firebrand with Heal Chrono. Sometimes that looks like it's the case. Ooh, we have Deathfire, the legendary Deathfire in our team. Okay. Let's focus for now on this support Tempest game. Let's try to carry this match. Yeah, come on, you will not kill me here. I can't get that. There are 4 people on them. Maybe I get that one though. Yeah. Oh, that's a tough one. Are we against 5 people here in mid? Yeah, we are. Okay. I don't know. That feels like a bad team fight to take. Right, you're Celestial Spear Herald and been loving it. Insanely tanky and fun. Yeah, it's crazy how tanky you are. It has more damage than Vindicator, but it's a little bit less tanky, but it's still extremely tanky. That's the crazy part here. So they are capping S2. That's always a good sign. Maybe I can get the Deathfire or Necromancer some healing. Nope. That's a tough matchup, I have to be honest. I don't know where to go. I have to be honest. Looks like it's already quite over. That's tough. Unlucky. Yeah, but that's the same. For example, if you play Tempest in PvE, I would say Tempest is quite easy to play. For an Elementalist at least. But if you look at Tempest in PvP, I think Tempest is not a very easy class to play, at least if you play support. Because you have to position yourself correctly. So I think if you only consider PvE, I think you can make a nice tier list about how easy a build is to play. But if you also talk about every class in every game mode, it's actually way harder. It's actually very hard, to be honest. Because there are so many things that you need to consider in which kind of builds are actually playable and which builds are very worthwhile to play as a new player, which builds are way harder to actually play. Maybe it's not lost yet. Oh, they banned him. I think our thief is almost dead. I have to be careful there. I don't know. I think people have to differentiate between playing a profession to maximize DPS or in a casual way. I mean, I can play Power Word ranged only for 15 to 20k DPS. Doesn't mean it's good. I can also play Reaper with 15k DPS and have no clue what I'm doing. Yeah, but the thing is, if you are all, I think it's very important. A new player will not talk about DPS in the beginning. You know, you want to start a class and want to have fun with it, and that's way more important. You don't in the beginning say, oh, I will play a class and I will reach 20k DPS in the beginning. That's just not really how it is played typically. You start on a class. Oh no, this will port on me. No, I did not check my mail. I don't know. I feel like you start on a class that you enjoy, you try to learn it, and then you, after a while, you will get into and see, okay, can I? This guy is dying all the time. I don't know where to go, actually. That's good. They stomp me when I'm at 20%. But then you can just suggest Elementalist, since it's probably one of the most fun classes with 4 elements. Yeah, it's really hard actually. You have to be careful that if you talk about how easy a spec is, you should not consider how fun it is, because that's not something that just should come together, you know? If a new player asks which elite specs is actually very easy to play, you should answer this question honestly. Oh, come on. Did you see that? That was 1 second or something. No, 100 milliseconds rather. I don't know if we can win this match. For me, I think a lot of classes are fun actually. I think it depends heavily on your playstyle, which build or classes you actually enjoy. I don't know if we can win this actually anymore. Yeah. As a new player, doesn't want just to die constantly, so Celestial Gear is nice then. The first free booster that gave you full free Celestial Gear as a new player was nice. At level 2, like 73 normally before I used it, was nice to get full exotic. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point. I think that you get full Celestial Gear. I think you should talk about this booster gear and make a really good build around that, and then you would probably be very happy with it. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. I'm with you there, Echo Fox. I think playing very well in a game, then I have fun. If I am not playing very well in a game, then I have way less fun than if I would have actually played decently. Yeah, that's definitely true. I really like Berserk and I really like the Greatsword, but the Greatsword moveset on Warriors, however, that's a comment from YouTube. I would actually agree with that. I think that they didn't even hit me. I think that Greatsword on Warrior feels like very outdated. You know, the 2 skill is just, you don't use it ever. The 4 skill is just not very strong. The 5 skill is buggy for a lot of utilities that you use it with. And the 3 skill is the only one that you would normally use. I think Greatsword is very, I don't know. It's sadly not as good as you really want it to be. Welcome, Roderick, welcome. Chatoyant infusion? I don't even know what that is. What is that? I don't know. I think the Greatsword 2 on Warrior is just a relic of the past, you know. Even if you could move while casting it, it would probably be not that crazy good. I think they should rework it a bit, what it actually does. Ah, the Catzilla one. Yeah, I mean, it just has an effect typically. It's not really giving you things. Ah, the one that you showed on Discord, okay, yeah. How do you like Spellbreaker? I have a friend who mains Spellbreaker even in practice, and the single target DPS is insane. You can one-shot most ads and the Solid Ocean Tentacles. So Spellbreaker is very underrated. So Spellbreaker is very melee and very single target, but if you have an encounter that actually makes use out of that, where you don't need cleave, where you have very easy uptime on a melee build, Spellbreaker is insane. You have defense in your baseline with your full counter. You have insane solo target DPS. You have, I think, 45, 46k DPS solo on, I mean, single target rather. It's insane. It's really good. It's one of the best DPS builds right now. It's very underrated. So you should definitely, if you are a warrior enjoyer, that's probably the power build that you should pick right now, which is really funny because often people say, oh, Berserker is the power build, but no, it's actually Spellbreaker right now, which is crazy. Yeah. Thanks for the follow, by the way, Gray. Yeah, but I think it's warrior in PvE is not a spec that I would typically recommend to players that are really going for an easy, very useful class, because warrior in PvE is sadly a little bit undertuned, I feel like. They are very inflexible in their builds and they have high DPS, but that's about it. If you compare them, for example, to a Virtuoso or a Reaper, which have amazing CC, amazing sustain, a warrior doesn't have that. That's the sad truth here. It's actually insane. Yeah. Yeah. So then I check the mail. Nice, the giveaway with a lot of free and very cheap fish. Very free. Thanks, Roaming Spirit. Really appreciate it. I don't know if that's how much value that is actually. If that's worth for a giveaway, if people want to even participate there. Very good. Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of stuff with the, for example, it's 1 gold per stack. Okay, maybe then we can do a giveaway later. I have a lot of other stuff that I can also give away, so that's fine. What I wanted to say is that Condimec, for example, gets nerfed in the next patch, which is obviously very strong right now, very good. And we will also get a buff to Power Mechanist, so I think Power Mechanist will be a very good pick after that. Yeah. And what else is actually very underrated in DPS? I think Willbender is actually currently really good as well. It has forced movement, that's a little bit annoying, but it's a very good DPS build. You can play it Power or Condi, and both of them are really, really good. And Mech will be extremely strong after the patch. It will not be top DPS, but, and that's the important part, it is very easy to play. And that means that in most encounters that require some kind of accurate positioning, some kind of mechanics that you have to deal with, that it's actually probably being top DPS there in a lot of groups then, because it's so easy to play. Power rival mech will be insane, so mark my words, that will be really good after the next patch. Ah yeah, the envoy with the Chuck X. Yeah, I have a lot of those lying around sadly, and I can't give them to you. I have 137 of them, so I would give them to you, but sadly I can't. It's account bound. But you will get there, don't worry. And then, if that's correct, then you will have finally your legendary armor, I guess. Very good, very good. I mean, you can also select them, can't you? If you do the Chuck Garant, can you not actually select them at the end as a reward of the meta event? I think you can, because then you guarantee 1 per day. And can you not get them from, maybe you can get them from Dragon's End as well. Dragon's End, I don't know. I think so. I have to check. I never was in a need for them, of course. But really, you only get it from there. That's actually insane. Let me check. I want to see that. Because I think I dropped a lot of them. Okay, you get it only guaranteed from there. That's the sad part. That's true. Sad. Actually sad. I mean, you can drop them from... Oh, you can actually get them from Tangled Death's reward track. But you can't get this multiple times, I think. Yeah, I was just, you know, you can run around the map and you can just open the ley line things and you will get some of them as well. Ooh, that's a Reaper match. Finally a Reaper match. Yeah, if you just open the ley line things, really you get 1 of them. That's insane. I mean, of course, you know, if I didn't need it and I was just doing it baseline, and so I got a lot of them, even though I didn't need them. But if you need them, of course, then it takes way longer than you would expect or would like. Yeah, that's okay. I get it. Yeah, it's probably very low, I guess. It's just I opened them, I don't know, for a year, a few of them per day. So I guess that's why I just have so many of them. Yeah, it's if you play World vs. World in PvP Roaming Spirit, you get so many Mystic Clovers just passively. I also have almost 200 lying around, even though I craft them into my legendaries all the time. It's actually crazy. The annoying part is with the meta is that you have to come 10 to 15 minutes earlier or the map is full. Yeah, that's true. That's the for the infusions. The infusion meta events are actually very annoying to get into the meta events if you don't want to play AFK for 10 or 15 minutes. But at least you can use the 10 to 15 minutes actually for gathering the ley line caches, or how they are called. So you can open those if the map is actually quite progressive. You can open actually, I would say 20 per lane, so you get probably 80 or 100 even if you are really greedy and go for all of them. You probably get 100 per waiting time of 10 to 15 minutes before the chuck guarantee happens. So that can be quite useful. But of course you will still need 2 days to actually get one egg if it's really 200. Oh, come on. What is this? Look at this guy, he's... Nice, I'm completely dead. He's playing hammer with color. Oh, that's annoying. CC locking against this Bondi Reaper, that's just very bad. Should I buy the new cat infusion? I mean, that's a question for chat. I can't answer that. I would say I don't need infusions, but if you like it, I mean, maybe. Ah, they are called crystallized supply cache. Yeah, exactly. Oh, the Condi burst. And this is CC chain. I mean, at least we got the map from that, but maybe we can self-res here. My team is trying to contest midpoint. Maybe I can get the self-res here. You should be really careful with the self-reses, but I guess this one might come through. Yeah, should not do that if you are not sure if it comes through, but I guess it's fine. Yeah, this Elementalist is so dead, it's not even funny. Okay, Reaper goes into Shroud in a second, then I will corrupt it. You see, worked out very well. Now I will... Yes, Keck W, that much is for sure. Yes. Pot on me. CC. Dodge the... I can't dodge, okay. No. What? Did that hit me mid-dodge? What? Wait, how many people are actually here on me? Not even funny. I guess 3.5. They have a firebrand. Condi firebrand actually. That's a cook. Definitely. Oh, that's a mean statement, Echo Fox. The only good elementalist are dead elementalist? I don't know. I mean, I would agree with Willbenders and Condi Thieves. This is really annoying, but I think elementalists are actually quite fair to fight. If you corrupt them, if you CC them, they have actually not that many tools that are that annoying. Okay. You know that I will win this matchup. Okay. One up. Oh, he doesn't have anything left anymore. Nice, we got him. There's the enemy thief. Oh, it's the elementalist. Bonk. Bonk, bonk, for sure. Nice corrupt here. Double kill on the under the point. Very good, very good. We are getting somewhere. It's a bloodthirsty match here for sure. Nice, we got the corrupt, we got the CC, and I think this guy is actually dead now. Nice. But how? Please follow up on this guy. Okay. I will go for the decap now. Yes, the Scepter 2 is also ranged, and this is also ranged. It's a very good build in PvP right now. It's hard to play. It's one of the hardest DPS to play because you're very slow, you're very sluggish in that sense. People always target you because of that. But if you can survive, you have amazing damage. Scepter is insane. And you can also win one-on-ones with that one. Yeah. You mean the skill 2 in Shroud is I mean it's melee, but you can get the corrupt still if it has some AoE to it, the second skill in Shroud. There's the Reaper. Ah, so good. Okay, we got the stability. Oh, we have the 3 people here now. I guess that's a good target. No, that's a lot of quantities. Okay, at least I got into Shroud. Where do I go here? Probably here. Can I survive that? I'm not sure actually. Oh, that was so close. Way too close. You see, you're always the target, you know. But if you can survive, then it's very likely that you actually get the kills. Oh, I don't like the double dodge here, but it's okay. Wait for the stun to run out. I mean, the CC chain is insane with the Reaper. This guy was CC'd for 5 seconds straight. It's so close. Okay, there are 2 people here. Thanks for that applause. Thanks a lot. I don't want to engage with half-life. It's very dangerous. Okay, support is now here as well. We have to be careful. We don't want to take this fight if the enemy team is actually running with a support. We got the decap. Very good. That's the comeback here, actually. We have to get the interrupt on the cliff if they have it. Juke the 5 skill, just so that I don't get CC'd by this. Try to get my... Yes, I got it. Very good. My elite. CC chaining again. Try to go on the... Yeah, the Guardian. The Guardian can't support here, I think. Well, that's a 5 versus 5, I think. But we got the map, so I like it. We should focus on the Guardian here. I have to be really careful. Close. Yeah, that was actually very close all the time. Who do we have here? Oh, it's the Reaper. I cleanse a lot of condies. I think I should be fine here, yeah. We'll just go around, go the long way. I will win this 101. Just take some time to reset my health pool. Got the decap. It's really, really close. It's a mirror matchup, so that's nice. Just want to survive here until my healing skill is actually back up. This guy will now use the things again, I guess. Nice, we got the hammer. That's a free push to the point then. Nice, we got the kill. Nice, very good. It's always living on the edge. This guy will pot on me in a second now. Just try to run away. Oh my god, his hammer, I forgot. Yeah, of course, against the hammer, Renegade, I can't run away. That's the sad part. I mean, we win this match from that. Yeah, I mean, that's if you play Reaper, you have to go kiting all the time. You have to play always the slow game. You will win almost any matchup if you can survive for the first 30 seconds, because you are just very long-lasting damage. You will annoy them with chill. You will just kill them after a while. It's just, you just have to survive. Yeah, we got them, and that should be the end of the match. Very nice. Would I consider this build as a good starting point to PvP? Probably not. I think that's one of the hardest builds to play in PvP to actually perform well on, because you will always be the target. Everyone will target you, even the support players. So you have to play really passively, really carefully. But if you like that playstyle, you can carry your match very hard. Very, very hard. So I think it's, for new players, I wouldn't recommend it. I think it's better to play, I don't know, some kind of duelist build that is actually performing decently well in a 101 without knowing too much about the game. But this build you have to play really, really careful, really passively. Also fight somewhat, yeah, knowing the enemy builds that you encounter here. This is, for example, a matchup that is really, really tough to take. Force the dodge with the stow, get the CC chain, and we should actually be fine here. We should wait for the thing to run out, and we should be good. Oh, the blind was annoying here. Yeah, we got the kill here. Wait for the CC. And yeah, we get the point here, and I think we win the match from that. Very good. Yeah, Willbender is obviously a very annoying matchup because they have a lot of burst, but if you can corrupt them, if you can survive long enough, it's actually working out decently well. Yeah, so you could see you can make this build work if you know what you're doing, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's an S tier build, at least for new players, just because it's actually quite hard to play. It's, you have to think about what you're doing with every single skill, more than a lot of other specs actually. Yeah, but I think if you like Necromancer, that's probably the build to play right now in PvP. That's the truth here. Yeah. Yeah, I really like this playstyle. I think it's really fun. I think a lot of people underestimate how broken chill is, because that's the thing that you take for, you know, that's the only thing that keeps you alive. Chill. It's really good. You have insane cooldown increase of the enemy of offensive skills and defensive skills while they are slower, and it applies bleeding. So it's absolutely insane. It's very broken. It's really, really good. So I cooked another build for Revenant. This time it's not a core Revenant build, but it's a Herald build, and it's actually extremely tanky. You're playing Retribution, Corruption, and Herald, and you have immense amount of condi pressure while still having crazy high toughness. So you get very little damage, and you have immense sustain as well. It's actually a really fun build. I played it yesterday, and I got a lot of, just a lot of one-on-ones where people just couldn't kill me, and after a while I killed them because I have so many condis that I apply all the time. It's really fun to play. So for example, I think Herald is one of the easier elite specs as well, because you don't have that many buttons to press. It's quite straightforward what you have to do to actually make it work. It's not like you have insane amount of combos that you have to do to make it decent. But I think, for example, Herald is definitely, I would say, the easiest elite spec from Revenant. Yeah. I think Vindicator is quite hard to play. I don't understand what the arrows below you have to me. So Revenant uses energy. So that means you have energy consumption. For example, this skill consumes energy. So that means if I toggle it, then I will deal damage around me, apply torment, and it will drain my energy slowly. All my skills though cost energy. So if I use this skill, it costs also energy. So that means I have to be really careful with my energy usage, because if my energy is almost 0, I can't use my skills anymore. Even my 2 skill, for example. So I have to be really careful when to use my skills. On the other hand, if you swap legends, you get 50 energy back in combat. So that means you get 50 energy after you used it almost to 0. And that's something that Revenant makes a little bit harder than, for example, a Warrior or Guardian, because you not only have your cooldowns, but you also have this energy that you have to manage. So Revenant is not the easiest starting class for that matter. Come on. 1-on-1. Look at that. That's nice. That's a nice 1-on-1. I like it a lot. But it's a fun mechanic. You can see in combat, if I don't use my upkeep skills, so skills that are actually running all the time, then you actually get decent amount of energy and you can use them. Thanks, Bree, for the raid. Really appreciate it. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. We're just trying some new Condi, Revenant roaming. I think it's a very decent build, actually, very underrated. And I'm also explaining Revenant currently to the new players in chat, because it's a very unique mechanic with this energy that you have here. You have all skills actually cost energy except the auto attack, and the toggle skills, you have a lot of toggle skills that are actually very unique. Not a lot of classes have that. Revenant has a lot of them. Yeah, thanks. Hope you had a nice stream too, Bree. So this on this legend, you actually have only one, Embrace Darkness, but it's a very strong one. You also get a lot of condis in around you. And on Glint, you actually have only toggle skills. So every single skill is actually a flip over. And if you use it once, you drain energy. If you use it twice, you actually do a single time attack that actually applies damage or does something around you. Yeah, you played Tempest in a match a while ago against me, and you were the other support Tempest in the enemy team. I didn't like it. We had, I think it was a week ago or something, we had a match against another thing, and we both played Tempest, support Tempest, and we had a match that was so close. I think it was 499 to 500. It was really insane. It was a very fun match, actually. But apparently you were the better support Tempest, so that's why you won by 1 point, I guess. Oh, nice. We got a 1-1 against Thief. I think that should be a good matchup. If it's not a Condi X Thief, that's a little bit annoying. Maybe it is, actually. No, it's what is it? Relic? That's a weird... What is this guy playing? Thief, Relic, and a Condi build? Yeah, now he's dead. Yeah. Oh, another one? This is now the X Thief. You don't like that. Oh my god, how many CCs can this guy have? Nice, we landed the CC. I think he runs out of cleanses in a second. Yeah, at this time the camp is on my side. You know, that's what we want. The NPCs are killing them. Okay, they have now 2 people. 2 thieves? I think that should be doable, actually. That should be doable if I kite it well enough. They are not engaging. They are really scared of the NPCs. Now it's a pistol unload thief. That's a cook, I have to admit. Okay, I got 1, but I'm not sure if I can lift this actually. The unload spam is annoying. Okay, I guess I have enough healing. Nice, we got them. Very good, we got them. Was too close to comfort, I would say, but we did it in the end. Should we spawn camp then? Should we try to contest this camp all the time? Oh, there's another one. Thanks for the applause, thanks a lot. I mean, wasn't that crazy. I mean, an unload thief is not the most insane enemy, but I guess two thieves is a little bit more annoying. Yes, tech W. The core profession is Revenant. It's a Revenant. I'm currently playing Herald. But core Revenant is like the only elite spec that I would say is never really designed in a way that you can play it alone. Of course you can, it actually works. I made actually a roaming montage out of a core Revenant. It's actually working, but it was always designed with Herald in mind, you know. The expansion Heart of Thorns actually gave us Herald and Revenant at the same time. So that means that you are actually, they never designed Revenant in a way that it's complete standalone. You can play it, but it was always considered to have an elite spec with it. And Herald is just so much superior in almost anything that you want to do with a core Revenant. It's actually not very fun, not really interesting. A deep divery? I don't know. Currently, I'm not having anything different than normal, I would say. No, Herald is a Revenant elite spec, but it's... sorry. But it's somewhat... I would say it feels... It has some Guardian aspects to it, because it's channeling some kind of light dragon magic glint, so I feel like, yes, you are quite close to it. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, really, the sound is weird. Interesting. I didn't change anything, but I guess maybe it's my voice, you know, maybe I'm sick. Now it's fine again? Okay, I guess that's good then. Maybe it was just a weird location, the microphone. I really like this build. It's a fun build. It's a tanky build. It's a nice roaming build. You have a lot of tools to actually deal with almost anything the enemies can throw at you. Yeah, I think it's very underrated. Maybe I have to do a build guide about this as well. Weird location of microphone. Yeah, we were just completely correct. I should listen to you more often. No, it's not true. I listen to you all the time, I guess. Yeah. And don't worry, Filthy. We have a build coming up on my YouTube channel, actually, where you inspired me to do it. So don't worry, you will be mentioned in the video as well. So, very nice. Thanks for the follow, by the way, Juicy and Kyla. Really appreciate it. Yes. No, don't be ashamed. I mean, it's a good build. I like it. It's not a meta build, but it's a fun build. And that's the important part. Fun and I would say decently strong and somewhat easy to learn. That's the important part for a lot of new players, actually. So what would you say is the easiest class you would recommend? I think I mentioned that question before, but what is the general consensus now? What class should I recommend to a player that wants to have the easiest possible class to play in Guild Wars 2? So just to start out, to have a decent build, a decent thing to play. Hammer Guardian? Maybe. Yeah, maybe actually. Reaper? Yeah, I guess. I think Reaper is very fun and very strong in PvE, very easy. But as soon as you go into competitive modes, you lose heavily on how easy it is. But if we just look at PvE, I would agree. Power Reaper with full minions? Okay, interesting. What do we have here? Mirage that dies against the NPCs. That's a good target. Ooh. He spiked some confusion on me. Yeah, Reaper is really good in PvP, but it's not a build that I would say is easy. You play Condi Reaper, and I think Condi Reaper is really, really good in PvP, but it's hard. You get focused all the time, you are slow, you have to position accurately, and you have to know how to kite. So I think it's not an easy build to play in PvP. But I would agree that it's a very fun build, and I would recommend it to a lot of people that actually enjoy playing some kind of DPS build, yeah. Yeah, I would say Scourge is very easy in PvE, that's true. But I would say Scourge is a Condi build, which makes it a little bit less good in lots of situations. For example, Reaper is a power. You can play a power or Condi Reaper, but a power Reaper in PvE is more straightforward to play, especially in low-level maps. You can easily kill the mobs very faster. What? Nice, we got it. But I think we will kill this guy very fast. He plays 4 signets. That's not very promising, I have to say. Core Necromancer. Just spamming auto attack should be good enough here. Oof. That's a lot of damage. There we go. Ranger seems quite chill to start on. Yeah, I would say Ranger is also... I agree. I think Ranger is generally probably one of the best classes to start on. Disregarding any elite specs, I think all of them are actually working decently well as a starter build. So I think that's a good point. I think because of your pet, you always have at least some companion that can help you. So yeah, I would say that's a good point. Yeah. But I would say Ranger can also be quite hard. Untamed is not a class that is very easy to understand, at least in competitive modes. But I would definitely agree with that. that it's a good class to start range. I think engineer can also be quite easy, but can also be quite hard because you have the kits, and the kit mechanic is very, it's like you feel like a very piano player with so many buttons that you can press to actually get the cooldowns off. So that can be really hard to play, but it can be really fun to play as well. So yeah, I mean, in DPS in PvE, if you play with pucks, it's always very, you can play Unload Deadeye, which benches at 30k DPS, and you will be completely fine. If you're just playing with a puck, it's like the people there will be probably worse than you. That's just sadly so often the case. So don't care about DPS, just care about the class that you're actually playing and play it well, and you will be top DPS. That's the thing. You should not look at a benchmark and say, okay, I can't play Condi Scourge because it has way too little DPS. That's just not true. You will be still be top DPS for almost any raid and strike mission fight. It's just true. Yeah, Dolyak's stance is insane. I think Dolyak's stance, especially with the stance shared rate, it's insane how much utility, and they buffed it so much. It gives stability, it's a stun break, it gives damage reduction, it cleanses immobilizing conditions, and it's shareable to your allies, and it is damage reduction for power and Condi damage. It's so overloaded, the skill. It's insane. It's crazy. And it's still not, it's still not a meta pick for Zerg because you don't have any other crazy good utility to bring as a support. But it's actually insane. It's really insane. I think Condi Scourge benches around 39k as far as I know. But still, yeah. I mean, it's very important that if you're about benching and stuff, you have to know your attacks. You have to not only know the cast time and when to use them, you have to queue the attacks, but you also, and that's the important part here, you also have to cancel aftercasts, you have to swap weapons, you have to use your cooldowns very precisely to actually match the rotation. So I think it's if you reach 80%, 90% of a benchmark, you are very good. That's not a lot of people actually do that. Even on a build that is supposedly quite easy as a Scourge. So if you reach 32k, that's probably good enough. Yeah. I mean, you always have to consider it's a Condi build. Condi builds are always taking some ramp up time, so that's making them a little bit worse than power builds, but still, it's a very good build to start on. You really liked it, the fight against the thief, where we take 15 minutes to resolve 1v1. That was, I would say, I didn't like it that much, to be honest. I think that was too long for my taste. But, I mean, I guess it's fine. At least we won in the end. Exactly, if you play decently well in raids and you just get this amount of damage, that will be fine, you will be higher than almost anyone in the raid because that's just how it goes. So don't worry about it, Echo Fox. That's completely fine. I think the number is actually quite decent. Yeah. What do we have here? Dragon Knight here, what is in there? I guess this one. Oh, 7 Mystic Clovers, that's insane. But it's a one-time reward trick, so I guess that's fine. Yeah, that's true. That's true. It was fun. They tried every single elite spec and they failed. That was fun. I agree. That was the fun part. But it took that long. That was not that fun, I have to admit. Yeah, the reward track is really confusing. I agree. It's not that crazy good. I'm not the biggest fan. So now it's time. I think we talked about a lot about the easy classes. I think we make a tier list. I think it's time for a tier list. I'm such a tier list enjoyer, you know that. And I think we should do it. Give me a second to set it up. So there we go. It's already set up. I'm quite fast, Okay. So let me change one thing here. So tier list of tier list of tier list. Nah, I mean, it's not the 1st of April anymore, you know? We are back to some really, you know, normal tier lists. So, what is this tier list about? Let me clarify that. This tier list is about for new players or veterans that want to play a new class. I'm talking here how easy it is to get into this class, mostly from a PvE perspective, because that's what you will probably start out with if you're a new player. But I will also take into consideration what kind of builds might be played in competitive modes. So this is more about how hard is it to get into the class. I'm not talking about a specific build. I'm not talking about one thing only. I'm talking about the class in general. How hard it is to understand the class mechanic, how many different skills you have to learn maybe, that kind of stuff. So we have obviously very hard to very easy tier, nothing too crazy. For me, I have to say, of course, as a veteran, nothing is very hard. Nothing even gets close to it. I'm just saying for a new player, some classes might be quite confusing. So let's try starting with, I don't know. Let's start with the medium armor classes. I don't know, for no reason. So we have engineer. I think engineer, core engineer, has baseline quite an interesting mechanic with the kits. You don't have a weapon swap, but you have the kits, and the kits can be quite challenging to understand because you have so many different ones. They are not very, you don't have to use them. If you don't use them, you're actually very easy to learn, but you have the tool belt skills. So I think engineer is actually already medium. I think it's not very easy to learn. It's not very hard. You don't have to use the kits, but the tool belt skills make it a little bit more, yeah, I don't know. I feel like engineer is, I wouldn't recommend engineer to players that don't want to play a Pinano, just because you have a lot of buttons to press all the time, even if you don't run any, I don't know. I think I agree actually. It feels a little bit challenging for a new player for the most part if you play engineer. On the other hand, you have scrapper. I think scrapper is not more challenging than a core engineer. I would say actually scrapper is, if you just come from a core engineer, I think scrapper is actually getting a little bit easier because you might have, you know, it's not like you start as an engineer and then you slowly understand the class and then you get to scrapper, and scrapper is not harder, you know. I think scrapper is actually making the class a little bit easier. It's a very easy class to play in my opinion, if you understand the core concept of engineer. That's the weird part here. Core engineer is from a medium, but scrapper is not a big step or almost no step up. So it's, for me, that's why you could make the argument, yes, if the core class is medium, you can't put it into medium tier. But I would say, yeah, I don't know. I would say for me, it's actually easier to understand than the core class because, I don't know, I just feel like it. Holosmith, on the other hand, I would put in actually, Holosmith can be quite hard to learn because you have the kits, you have the forge mechanic. So, yeah, I agree. Scrapper is very smooth what it provides. I think Holosmith, on the other hand, can be quite challenging. I think Holosmith is probably medium, maybe even hard. I don't know, depending on what kind of build you play. If you refer to a Condi Holosmith in PvE, it's insane how many buttons you have to press. I would say it's medium for me, but it's definitely harder than a scrapper to play, yeah. So you can see where I'm going. Engineer is quite medium focused. It's a medium armor class that is actually not that easy to play, so it's actually medium for me. But we have Mechanist, and Mechanist is, for me, very easy. You get carried by your pet, and you lose your tool belt skills. You don't have to use kits at all. You get broken utility skills with signets. For me, Engineer, Mechanist is by far the easiest of the engineer specs. That's very clear. Yeah, I would actually agree that Holosmith is very squishy as well. That makes it actually even harder. But I can see why you would say it's not that easy because you have so many buttons that you can press, but you can actually... It's true in World vs. World, but like I said in the beginning, I think I will focus here on PvE because that's where people typically start out playing a new build, you know? You don't say, oh, I leveled the Guardian to level 80 and now I'm trying Engineer, but I will not play it in PvE. I will instantly try it in PvP or World vs. World. That's not very common, you know. A new player will probably start in PvE to test the class. Yeah, that's why I think I would say I focus on PvE content here for now. Because if I also put the World vs. World and PvP in here, it gets very confusing very fast. Because you have so many builds that I have to consider, and you just can't say a build that is very easy and compared to a same build of the same different build of the same class and say it's still very easy because it's a different build. I think it's, yeah, you have to be careful there. But that's what I would put Engineer in. Then we have Thief. We talked about it earlier. Thief has a lot of dodges. It's very evasive. It's fast-paced and it has very easy spammable attacks, but it's very punishable. It has a low health pool. It is not as, you know, survivable when it gets hit. So I think Thief is, from the medium armor classes, one of the harder specs to play because it's actually getting very fast, you know, to actually press all your buttons. You have only then you can evade your attacks all the time. So I think for me, Core Thief is medium. It's medium. You can play it quite easy in low level fights, but as soon as you get bosses that hit quite hard, I would say this is not very easy anymore. Maybe it's easy because you only have one F skill, so that's not, you don't have a lot to learn, you know. That's the difference to Holosmith and Core Engineer. And you can also use stealth, that's true. Then we have Daredevil. I would say Daredevil is probably the same. It's also quite easy to understand, and you just have the dodge that is altered. Everything else is the same. So maybe Thief is there. Then we have Deadeye. I would say Deadeye to start out with. For the class mechanics, I would put into medium, but you have the unload build and that's just easy. So for me, Deadeye in PvE is easy. That's just the truth, yeah. Because you have the unload build that's carrying this. It's just, if you follow this build guide, it's actually insane. But if you look at the class itself, I think the mechanic makes it more complicated than Core Thief or Daredevil. But it gets carried a lot by how you actually can make it completely brain AFK. Yeah, exactly. You just start blasting when you press the unload button and then you can take your hands off the keyboard. So yeah, I don't know. Then we have Spectre. So Spectre is hard. Spectre is really hard. I think Spectre, for me to place, you have to think about two things. I think the survivability of a Spectre is insane. It's probably the highest survivability of all the Thief specs. So that makes it easier. But on the other hand, you typically play it as some kind of hybrid support, and that makes it actually harder to play. Because you have to understand to target your allies. You have to understand your flip over skills. So it's really hard. I think, is it a class that I would put into hard because it has some really gimmicky and really unique mechanics? Or is it a class that gets carried by your shroud, by your tankiness, by your overall survivability? What do I value more for a new player? Probably the playstyle, I have to be honest. If you can't play very, you know, effective, but you are tanky, you will still not get your things done. So maybe I would put Spectre for that matter into hard, because it's very focused on supporting your allies. If you play a full DPS Spectre, it's probably going into low medium tier because you don't have to support your allies, you can target the boss. But if you want to get used to the supportive element of Spectre, then it gets actually hard. I have to say. But let's see what else we put in which kind of tiers here. Yeah, it's definitely hard to play for new people, yeah, I guess. Then we have Ranger. Ranger is interesting. Like I said, I think Ranger is quite easy to learn. I think Core Ranger to get into, not a lot of different things. It's very straightforward, I would say. You have your pet and it does its job. You can call it to you and follow you and stuff, but it's very straightforward what it actually does. I think Ranger, quite easy, probably the easiest core class of those, because it's very, your pet can carry you through the beginning for sure. Then we have Soul Beast. I think Soul Beast makes the pet go away, so it makes actually sense to put it in easy or very easy as well, because you lose the difficult mechanic and you don't get carried by your pet anymore, but you get empowered by your pet. You get better skills, you get better stats. So I think it's still easy to play, especially when you run Dolyak stunts and that kind of stuff, because it's absolutely broken. as if you play a DPS Soul Beast, you can make a very low intensity build that does high amount of damage. So I think Soul Beast is very underrated as a very easy build to pick up. Of course, if you go for fractal speedruns, that's different. Then it's actually quite hard to play because you have to really know when you're facing, when you do your X5 and stuff. But I'm talking about the beginning, and I think Soul Beast is very good to start out with. Then we have Untamed. I would say Untamed is interesting. Untamed is, from the amount of buttons and the amount of skills that you have to learn, actually quite challenging. But in PvE, it typically plays out, you just press all your buttons and you will be unkillable. So where do I put it now because of that? I don't really know. I would say in medium, because you have to learn your skills if you want to know what you're actually doing. But you can also just face roll your keyboard and then it will be easy and actually broken in PvE. I don't even know if it's maybe you should put it because of that in easy tier, because it's so broken what you can actually make work out of Untamed. Just to really, you know, I'm talking about Untamed right now. Yeah. So is it that broken that you can put it in easy tier, even though you have so many different buttons that you have to learn? But is it I don't know. I think it's actually, for me, let's put it in medium tier, even though it's very busted how much you can get done with that. Yeah. And then we have Druid. Druid is interesting. I think Druid is also quite easy to actually get into. You have your Celestial Avatar and you have a flip over skill. It's very healing capabilities are crazy good. I think the group events and in strikes and raids, you can actually help a lot. So I think you don't have to be a crazy good Druid to actually make this spec work. I would agree with you, Jenna, that Untamed is very broken how much you can get done, but it's also not very, you know, if you want to know all the intricacies about Untamed, the ambush mechanic, about the flip over, unleash stuff that your pet gets, and you have so many buttons for your pet to control it, I think it's not as easy as you would expect, but I think you are right, it's so broken that you might put it in easy because of that. And I think Druid is also quite easy to learn. You can see Ranger is a very good spec to start with, I would say. The best from the medium armor classes, I would say, when it comes to how easy it is to learn. And let's now continue with the heavy armor classes, I would say. So let's start with Guardian. I would say Core Guardian is very easy to learn. You have just the virtues, and the virtues are just passives, and if you activate them, you get just a short time buff. That's, I would say, quite easy to learn. I think Guardian, very straightforward, plays like a priest or something like that. Paladin, really easy, I would say. Nothing more to say about that. Dragon Hunter is a step up, I would say. It's harder to play because you have the virtues that now get an active skill that is way more, not annoying to use, but you have to focus a bit on it. You have your traps that get a little bit more intricate rather than just pressing one button and shouting, for example, advance or something like that. So I would say it's still easy, but it's a little bit a step up than to Core Guardian. Then we have Firebrand. Firebrand for me is hard because it has a lot of different buttons to press. It is very nice in the utility and flexibility it can bring, but that also means you have to learn a lot of stuff about when to use which kind of utility and when it's actually a waste. And it's very flexible. You can be played as a DPS, a support. You can play a full support, a healer, whatever. I think it's, yeah, I don't know. I feel like all of them can be useful in the right circumstance. So, but you have to understand when to use it. So that's why it's in hard. Yeah, Joe, I really appreciate your comment. Thanks a lot. So that's why I would put it in as a hard class to play if you start out Guild Wars 2. I would not start on a Firebrand if you're not really a big fan of the class design. So it's way harder than people give it credit for. And then we have Willbender. I think Willbender is also quite easy actually. It's forced movement, yes, but it actually has a very nice utility in the kit with the teleports and the healing and stuff. So for me, I think Willbender is also quite easy. You can see a lot of classes go into easy tier that have some buttons to learn, but they carry you by their strength baseline. And that's why I would put Willbender here as well. It's quite easy to start out on a Willbender because the forced movement is not that much of a big difficulty in the beginning, and you can get so much done with it. Yeah, it's actually crazy. Yeah, okay, so now let's go to Warrior. Is there any build in the game that you personally don't find easy? I mean, if I answer this question honestly, then I have to take into consideration that I played the game for way too much. You know, I played the game for over 13,000 hours in the last 12 years. So that means, well, 13 years. So that means it would be a shame if I'm a content creator and make build guides about every single build and would say I find a specific build still hard to play. Because I played every build way too long, and if I still find them hard to play, then I'm either really bad at the game or I'm just a very slow learner. Yeah, and I would say both is not the case. So in my opinion, I personally don't find any class hard. But that's the important part here. We are talking here in this tier list about new players. So we are not talking about what I personally think about the class right now in my current gameplay situation, but I'm talking about what would I recommend new players when I would consider how hard a class or how easy a class it is to learn. Yeah, that's my take here. Yeah. Okay, so let's look at Warrior, Core Warrior. I think Core Warrior is very easy to learn. Very straightforward. You have one F skill. You have a lot of weapons, but all of them are very straightforward. You're very physical, not very much going on, no magic. Very easy, no teleports and that kind of stuff. Just very straightforward class. What can I say? Then we have Berserker. Berserker gets a little bit more difficult, but still not medium, I would say. Yeah, not medium, because you have a very spammy playstyle, but it still is Warrior. It's still very straightforward. It's a very physical skills, maybe a bit more fast-paced, but still very nice to learn. It's not too difficult. You also have very crazy good traits that help you survive. So overall, I would say still a very nice class to pick. Then we have Bladestorm. Bladestorm, I would say, is medium for me because it's a little bit annoying with the gun saber and how you use your dragon trigger and that stuff. It's a little bit less intuitive how you actually interact with that. You lose your second weapon set for the gun saber. I think it's definitely the hardest Warrior spec for sure to play. It's still not hard because you still have very straightforward skills, but it's definitely harder to play as well with the float generation. It's not that easy to actually get into. Then we have Spellbreaker. I think Spellbreaker is actually very easy. You have the full counter and that's it. Everything else is very straightforward, just like a Core Warrior, just with a full counter. That's why it's very easy. Very easy class to play actually. Yeah. Now we'll get to your Herald or your Revenant here, Digital Nomad. So let's start with Core Revenant. I think Core Revenant is medium. That's already saying a lot because you have the energy mechanic that you have to take care of. You have the legend, so you can't swap your utility skills that easily. For me, it's therefore medium. It's not getting carried by easy class mechanics. It's actually going up because of the hard class mechanics that I think a Core Revenant has. Then on the other hand, we have Herald. I think Herald has the same thing. You have the flip over skills, you have the energy that you have to manage. I think for me, it's also medium. You have to learn a lot of stuff that is very different to a lot of different things that you would expect from other classes. So if you compare to Guardian, to Warrior, they are awesome heavy armor classes, but they have very straightforward mechanics for the most part. But Herald is already different than them. Yeah. I agree. I might agree with you actually there, Toxio. That it's you get, because of that you can't swap your skills around all the time because you are locked in with the legend, it makes it easier. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Maybe that makes it easier to actually learn. Maybe you're right there. Because you don't have to have the decision. The decision is not made. The decision is made for you by the game. You have to swap legends and then it's done. You can't swap purely your utility skills. Maybe that's a good point here. I mean, would you really say, Syntrex, that Berserker is medium? Would you really say that Berserker is that much harder to play than the very, very easy Core Warrior? Because I feel like you get another button with the Berserk form, but is it really changing that much? Because I get that, why you say it's actually... Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm too biased because I'm, you know, an experienced veteran in all the game. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Maybe you're right. Maybe I have to adjust my warriors placement here. Maybe you're right. My blade zone is too low, and my berserker maybe as well. I agree. Yeah. Yeah, I would say Spellbreaker and Core Warrior, I think, is completely the same. You know, you can play a Spellbreaker and just have one more button than the Core Warrior. That's it, and it's really playing like the same. Yeah, I agree. I think the flow mechanic of Blade Zone makes it very confusing to learn because you don't have adrenaline anymore. It's a little bit different. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I were a little bit too biased towards, you know, it's just saying spam your buttons and you will succeed. Maybe that's correct. Maybe a new player wouldn't know which button to spam. Yeah, so I guess that's fair. Well, thanks for the adjustment. Thanks. I would change it now as well. Yeah. But I think we were talking about Revenant. I think it's really hard. Would you say Revenant is easy to play because you get legends that are really clearly defining what kind of skills you use? Or is it hard to play because the legends lock you into a playstyle that you might not know how to actually play, or the energy is not really well to do? I think it's really hard for me to actually judge that for a new player. I think for me, Herald and Core Revenant are quite straightforward if you understand the energy mechanic. That's the real thing. If you get the energy mechanics, they are actually quite nice. But it's really hard. I don't know where to place them. I have to be honest. For me, I would say Vindicator is clear higher than Herald and Core Rev. Is it medium or is it hard? I would say it's hard because of the alliance stance, and you have, so to say, 3 stances at the same time. So I think for me, it's a little bit different to play. But yeah, it's always a matter of perspective. Yeah, that's a very good point there. But what can you say? You know, if a new player asks me which kind of Revenant spec they should start out with, I would say it's Herald. So that means probably Herald is the easiest of them to learn, if I would say that just without thinking about it too much. I think Renegade has very high energy consumption, and the spirits that you can summon are also not that easy actually to understand them. You have the instant cast one, and after you use the first one, I think it's confusing. Renegade is not that straightforward in comparison to Herald and Core Revenant, I would say. I would actually say, yeah. I don't think Renegade is the hardest. I think Vindicator is the hardest, because you get the Alliance stance, and the Alliance stance is not something that a new player typically wants to have in the kit, because the Alliance stance has 2 stances baked in that are somewhat not that straightforward. Maybe it's not hard if you compare to the other things. This tier list is for a new player, and a new player typically would start with PvE. But I will also take into account if a build is really hard in World vs. World and PvP, then it's quite unlikely that I put it in very easy. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Thanks for the raid, Errol. Thanks. I'm just making a tier list here about which builds are very easy to recommend to new players. So which builds can be played quite easily. I don't know. I think Renegade is not that hard. I don't know. I think Renegade is, if you play a meta Renegade build, then yes, it might get harder with the Condy one because you have too many different skills that you have to take care of. But the Renegade mechanic itself is just, you know, you have F2 to F4 and that's it. I don't know. I think it's really hard to judge where to put them. I would now leave them for now in medium. I think they are harder to play than Herald and Core Revenant, but I wouldn't say it's very clear cut which of them is harder to pick. I think for a new player, it's very dependent on what kind of playstyle you are actually performing it on. Yeah, I would agree with Errol that the Renegade takes so much energy just when you use your F skills and also the spirits, that it's actually quite hard to play because you get all your defensive skills will get punished by using your, for example, the F3 skill, which costs, I think, 35 energy. It's insane. It costs so much energy. So I think the energy management on Renegade is really annoying for a new player, especially if you don't know how much it costs, or if you just can't really see it. I don't know. I'm not a big fan to recommend Renegade to a new player. Maybe you're right there. Maybe I have to put it. I don't know. I think it's not as hard as a Firebrand or a Bladestone. I think it's not. It's not. Because you can still get your stuff done even if you run out of energy. You're still a very strong heavy armor class, I would say. Yeah. But it's just like I said, this is a tier list, and it's really hard for a veteran that plays all classes, all builds, to make a tier list for a new player and say, this is very hard, this is very easy, because it's always biased. You know, I have a biased view on the situation. I try to be very objective here, but it's really hard. So please bear with me here. Okay, I think we talked enough about the heavy armor classes. Let's go to the light armor classes, which is, in my opinion, one of the harder ones. So let's start with Necromancer. I think Necromancer is quite easy. We have Core Necromancer. Core Necromancer gets a Shroud. For me, Core Necromancer is very easy. It's slow, yes, but it's not very hard to understand. You get the Shroud, which locks you out of a lot of skills. You don't have a lot of decisions to make. You have a second life pool. Overall, Necromancer, in my opinion, very easy to recommend to new player because you don't have a lot of stuff to learn in comparison to other classes. That's the same actually for Reaper. I think Reaper is also very easy. It is not changing a lot. It's actually very straightforward to play. It's not very unique, yeah, in that sense that you have to learn a lot of new stuff that you would not expect to learn from a elite spec. I would say for me, it feels almost like Spellbreaker to Core Warrior, because you just alter your skills a little bit, but it's still very close to the original Core Necromancer. I don't know. On the other hand, we have Harbinger. I think Harbinger is changing the class mechanic in a way that makes it harder. Just straight up. I think Harbinger for me is, because of that, medium, because you get punished if you don't know what you're doing. You have a lot of forced movement. You have a lot of less life pool, and you still have to manage it. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's, for me, medium, maybe. Yeah, it's a medium for me, Harbinger. And then we have Scourge. Scourge is also very easy, I would say, because you lose your Shroud and you get less buttons in that way. You have less skills to learn. You have your F skills, and all your really normal builds that you play in PvE are very straightforward. You don't have a lot of weapon swapping going on. You have very straightforward skills. I think Necromancer might be one of the easiest classes to recommend to a new player because of how easy it is to learn with everything regarding the Shroud, I would say, except Harbinger, because you actually have to manage the Blight stacks and that kind of stuff that can be quite punishing. Yeah, I would say that makes Harbinger in medium tier with the Blight. I think that's the difference maker here. Yeah. But like you already mentioned, of course, it's very subjective. Everyone might feel different. So, for example, if someone is an assassin by heart, you know, and plays Thief very easily, then they might think, okay, Thief is easier to play than a Necromancer. It's very hard to justify. It's always subjective. But personally, I think that's... Yeah, maybe you would put Scourge in easy, not in very easy. Maybe. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it's a little bit harder to play because it has, with the shades, you have more mechanics to take care of. Yeah, maybe you have more things to take care of while you press your buttons. That's probably true. Yeah. I think Echo Fox is correct here. DPS Scourge is very easy, but if you play Heal Scourge, you have a lot more to take care of, because you have to think about when to apply your barrier, where to stand to give your allies the barrier. So I would put it in easy just because of that there are builds out there that make this a little bit harder. But maybe it's a close one to very easy. It's not as hard as an Untamed, that much is for sure. Then we have Elementalist. So Elementalist, we talked about it a lot on stream. Is Elementalist hard to recommend to new player? Baseline, because you have so many elements and so many skills to learn for every single weapon. Is it hard because of that? I would say it is not hard because of that. It has a higher barrier of entry, but it's not so high that I would say don't play that as a new player. It can be fun and challenging to a new player. I think what's more the problem is that a light armor class has a low health pool, and that's more problematic. So I think that's why I would put it in medium, because you have a light armor class, low health pool, a lot of skills to learn. The kit that you have is actually very helpful. I would say core elementalist is for me not hard. It's medium because it's just a lot to take in. It's not crazy hard to actually understand. It's not you have elements and that's it. You know, it's not like you have to understand energy management while you have 20 skills to learn. I think I would put it in medium, in maybe high medium. You could make an argument to put it in hard. But let's think about it. Tempest is, because of that, also medium. Because you have the overlords that have a long charge time. So that means that you have problems if you get CC'd, if you don't have this ability trait and stuff. So for me, Tempest is also medium because you have the elements, and I would say Tempest is easier than core elementalist because it's like Scrapper and core Engie, because they are somewhat, if you understand the core class, Tempest is not hard. But if you don't understand the core class, then it actually gets hard. You know, that's the thing. So Tempest overall is easy to learn if you get the core class. It's the same for Scrapper. So that's why it's lower than core elementalist. And then we have Catalyst. I think Catalyst is very brain AFK. You can just press all your buttons and you will have a lot of boons in all game modes actually. But to understand the class, you have to understand the mechanics with the combo fields, and that's a little bit hidden and not very straightforward. So I would say that is for a new player to play hard because it's somewhat challenging to get the APM going while still playing and understanding what you actually are doing. You know, I think you can face roll a lot with Catalyst, so it's like Untamed, but to actually understand what you are doing, to play it to its fullest, it's actually hard. So maybe because of its brokenness, I have to put it in medium tier, because it's actually not as hard to perform in, even though if you don't understand anything about the class, you will still get your stuff working quite well, because you can just spam it and it's so broken. So it's really hard again to justify where to put it. It's the same with Untamed. Would you say Untamed is hard to play? Yes. Is it broken? Yes. Where to put it now? I don't know. It's the same with Catalyst. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's really hard. I have to... Did those classes, Herald, Catalyst and Tempest, Catalyst and Untamed, for me, really hard to justify where to put them. If they are easy, medium, I don't know. I have a question about combo fields. Can you blast Waterfield twice in quick succession? Yes, you can do that very fast. You can use 5 blast finishes in the same Waterfield very shortly, and you get 5 healed procs. Yes, you can do that. As long as the Waterfield is still existing, of course. Yeah. Yeah. Then we have Weaver. Weaver is obviously hard because of the dual tuning. It's hard to learn, but it's not giving you a new class mechanic to learn other than the dual tuning. So I think it's not very hard in that way, because it's still understandable what it actually does. You don't lose access to your classical core elementalist skills. You just get one new skill for each dual attunement. So that's why I would put it in hard, not in very hard to learn actually. Yeah. Yeah, maybe you're right. If you explain Untamed very well, it's actually not that hard. I would say that's the same goes for Herald in my opinion, because if you explain what a Herald does, you can explain it in 2 sentences and people will actually know what they are doing with it. So yeah. Let's talk about Mesmer. Mesmer is interesting. I think the core concept of a Mesmer is somewhat easy because your clones can help you a lot. You have illusions, you have a lot of instant casts. So it's hard to master, easy to get into, I would say. Yeah. Core Mesmer is not very good in a solo scenario, so maybe it's because of that you start out as a Core Mesmer, you have not a lot of DPS and you are also quite squishy, so maybe because of that you have to put it medium, and your utility skills are just very, very bad. For you alone, you don't have a lot of stuff that helps you, you have just Blink and that's it, I would say. It's hard to justify where to put Core Mesmer actually. On the other hand, we have Virtuoso. I would say Virtuoso is easy because you lose your clones, you get your blades, and that you have high range. I would say that's easy. You can play a Condi, Power, Virtuoso, whatever you want. All of them are very decent to play. Very easy, yeah. The leveling on Mesmer is hard, that's why I put it here. But if you reach the stage that you can get Virtuoso, you are actually very, very good. You know, there will be a great time ahead of you if you're in solo content. Even in instant content, it's really good. It's just very flexible. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's actually true. The leveling on Mesmer is actually one of the hardest classes to level because you have so little damage and you get so much damage, and your utility skills are just very, very bad. As well, for example, also the elite skill is completely useless for the most part. So yeah, if you can use the spear, then it's different. But people might start out without Soto and then without Chantia Waltz, and you don't have the spear, and then it's very painful. Then we have Chronomancer. So Chronomancer is interesting. I think Chronomancer is really, really good in PvE right now. But you have the Continuum split. Is the Continuum split something that makes Mesmer hard? Or is it something that is not changing too much about it? Because the mechanic itself is explained in one sentence. Yeah. Is it hard to execute perfectly? Yes. Is it hard to execute somewhat okay? Not really. You just press F5 and that's it. For me, I think it's medium. I think it's not justifying to go in hard tier because it's very easy actually to understand what it does. You just go back and reset your cooldowns. A lot of games have a mechanic like this nowadays. It's not very special. The positioning is a problem, I agree. That makes it maybe a little bit harder. Maybe you are right there. The positioning can be painful. If you are in Bone Skinner and you use the F5 in the wrong moment, you will die. That's true. Yeah, I mean, yes, you can use it, of course, in a moment where it doesn't matter and you just waste the skill. That's also true. But I feel like it's not as hard as people always think, because you can just spam your skills while you are in F5 and you will get some value out of it. Yeah. It rewinds the cooldown and the position, so that means you have to position correctly when you press it. Yeah, maybe because of that you have to put it in hard, but I feel so bad to put it in hard because it's so good right now. It's, you know, you just have to press your buttons and you will perform decently well with it. It's like saying, okay, it's hard if you want to master it, but to actually get into it, it's actually, I don't know. I think maybe low end of hard, maybe. And then we have Mirage. Mirage is again so weird to put into something here because you can play a staff Mirage and you just spam your dodges and it's very easy. Yeah, it's really, really easy. But if you want to play an X Mirage or something like that, it gets into very hard. So where to put it? I don't know. I really don't know. Where should I put it? Would a new player play staff? Probably, because it's very easy to learn and to play. So because of that, you could make an argument to put it there. But yeah, you also have Torch 4. That helps a lot, actually. That's true. Condi Cleanse and the Stealth Access. But if you play an Power Mirage or an X Mirage, it's actually very challenging because you have to know a lot about the class and other classes to actually play it. I would say it's medium for me because of that, because there are some really hard builds and there are some really easy builds, and that just in the middle brings it to medium. That's my argument here. I think it's harder to play than Virtuoso, I would say. Yeah, so let's put it in medium for now. Yeah, I would say Staff Condi Mirage is very easy, but that's the exception. Everything else on Mirage is actually not that easy, I would say. Yeah, maybe new players wouldn't use energy sigils, that's correct. Maybe then it's getting harder to actually play. I would put it in medium for now. Maybe you could make an argument because of how strong or how easy Staff Mirage is to put it in easy because of that. I think it has a lot of mechanics that are quite hidden. You have the ambush skill that is not very clear that you have to get it all the time when you dodge. You are not moving with your dodge anymore, so that's something different. You can cast stuff while you move, so that's also a value evade. That's also something new. It has a lot of new mechanics. The Mirage mirrors are new, so I would say overall, it can't be that easy because of that. Yeah, I would say. I think this is my tier list, how I would rate the difficulty of classes for new players regarding how easy it is to learn them. But like I said, this is a perspective from a veteran that plays all classes, so that can be scuffed. I did on purpose put nothing in very hard because I feel like even as a new player, there is no class that you shouldn't play if you enjoy the fantasy. I really want to stress that. You can play every single elite spec as a new player and will succeed with it. Some, like the hard ones here, will be more challenging, but you will still be able to clear almost any PvE content with them. So please, that's really important to understand. And I think if you want to start out with an easy class, yes, go for very easy or easy, but it's not like it's a necessity to actually enjoy the game. I think it's way more important to start on a class that is actually fun to you. The playstyle is something for you, the class fantasy is something for you, and then you will have more fun, even if you have to learn, for example, more than a class that is in very easy. Yeah, that's very, very important to make the statement. So if you're a new player and listening to this, please take that really to your heart and really think about that before you choose a class, and not say, okay, this content creator said I should play this class because it's easy. Think about if you like the class. That's way more important. Yeah, I think that's my final statement on the matter. Yeah. Thanks for their follows. Really appreciate it. So, and I think that's also now time for me to end the stream. Thanks all for watching. And I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, yeah, be sure to check out my YouTube as well. I have a lot of cool content on my YouTube channel as well for new players and veterans alike. Hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, and thanks you all for watching, for the nice discussion and debates about classes and easiness and stuff. Really nice. And hope to see you around next time. See you.